Good morning Internet, Pete from the Fat Bird Ball channel here. Now I released my first video on this channel on the 31st of October last year. So we've just passed 3 months since I've been doing this channel now. And I think it's fair to say that I've tried a few pieces of equipment so far already in those 3 months. When I've been out and about shopping for items for camping and hiking, etc., I've always been on the cautious and budget side of the market, let's say, when I've been looking for my equipment. Some of that has worked out very well for me, some not so much. So I just thought today I'd go through my current kit, my reviews on each item, how I've ended up with these items, and the cost of them, and personally speaking on how I think it's value for money or not so much value for money. So yeah. That's the plan for today's video. Hopefully some of you might find it interesting and maybe even useful. Right, firstly, the 3 basic essentials. Tent, sleeping bag and a mat. For me, that's the 3 items that are a priority for me in order to be able to get out and enjoy myself and just spend some time outdoors. Okay, so firstly, tent. Now, any of you that have watched the channel so far might know I've had an interesting ride and journey with tents so far. It's actually limited only to these 2, so I've got no great experience like some people out there that have, owned and used over 100 tents. But, I think I'm probably like many people that may be starting this early in life or later on in life. Unless you've been doing it some time, you need to do quite a bit of research and knowledge on what maybe to get and what not to get. But really, there's nothing like trying something for experience and knowledge. And I think it's fair to say that the first of the 2 tents I'm going to be discussing and reviewing today certainly have been put to the test. This one, hopefully, we'll get a lot more adventures on this one yet, but I'm very confident with how it's going to perform. So I started my journey of outdoors exploring with a Force at unknown brand, cheap as chips, off the internet, £50 tent. And I remember on my first video, after my first night with it, I did a brief review on what I thought my first night was like with it, and basically I said, £50 tent at the end of the day. Which is true, it is only a £50 tent. And for that, you get 1 lining in your tent. So it hasn't got a double wall, it's a single lining. And as anybody knows, if you have a single line tent, especially if you don't have lots of ventilation in it, then condensation can really be an issue with it. Now, this doesn't have a lot of ventilation in it, but I will say that even though I used it for the best part of 3 months, in many conditions, from nice dry evenings to chucking it down with rain to freezing cold temperatures, there was many times where I thought that there might be an issue with condensation. I actually never once had an issue. Now, I hadn't been all year round with it. I will be doing that later. I can't actually show you the tent right now because, bless her, she's still being mended at the moment. But yeah, even though it's only a £50 tent, it just has, I don't know, for me it had some certain character and feel about it. The frame itself is a very simple frame to put together. And again, if you haven't seen it, watch my first video on the channel because I put it together for the first time without no previous experience, purely because when I got it, it was lastminute.com and I was literally going out the door. So I hadn't had a chance to look at the instructions or have any opening up of it at all. And it was really dead simple. Just 2 crossover bars, a nice dome-shaped tent, plenty of height in it, really plenty of height for me to be able to sit up in it. I mean, I'm only 5'9", so I'm not a very tall guy, but there was loads of headroom, enough for me to be able to sit up quite comfortably in it. In fact, my knees were more of an issue being able to sit up in it than the tent was itself. And it was plenty of space around it. I've had my dog Lola with me on many occasions, and she's not a small dog. She's quite a big dog. And there was room for me, her, and still ample space for bags with my kit inside. There's a vestibule on the front of it as well. I'll stick a picture up just to show you the tent, what it's like when it's erected. There's, so there's a vestibule on it as well. There's loads of room inside. The frame, as I said, is really easy to assemble and the whole tent's easy to put together. There's storage pouches in it. And actually for a cheap tent as well, it's 1.4 kilos, which I was really pleased with. You can get lighter and you can spend a lot of money on much better tents and get lighter than that. But you know, you could be spending a few £100 on your tent. This was 50 quid and this was just to get me going and get me outdoors. Now, at best, it's a 3-season tent. Ideally, I would say it's a 2-season tent. It's something that would be really nice and easy to use. Chuck in your bag out in the summer or late in the spring, just to enjoy some outdoors time. You know, and you haven't got to worry too much about the weight. I certainly wouldn't be worried about the weather conditions that you're going to find in the UK anyway at that time of year. For anybody, again, that has seen my channel, you'll see that the biggest extreme I took this tent to was camping in it on top of one of the tallest peaks in the Peak District in gale force winds, which I wasn't aware at the time were going to be hitting me and were going to be as strong as that. It was over 50-60 mile an hour winds. We had some protection against some rocks for a while, but when the wind changed direction, this poor little tent had to suffer most of the night and all the next morning in those gale force winds. Now, at the end of it, when all said and done, the tent was damaged quite considerably. One of the poles was split in 4 pieces along its full length. All of the poles regained some marks of strain and cracking and splitting on them, and the hoops that contain the poles at the top of the tent, obviously the tent being shaken so violently in the wind, the fabric had actually started to shred, and eventually at some point it would have just collapsed because it wouldn't have been attached to the poles anymore. However, as I said, it did go through hours of it, and if you need any reassurance of that, just check out my video, my wildest adventure yet, because it really was wild. And this £50 tent kept me dry, kept me safe, and we got through the storm. It was battered, it was knackered, and it needs some care and attention now to bring it back to life now. But it did what it needed to. So honestly, for me, for a £50 tent, hats off. I haven't seen anything else like it, or tried anything else like it, to be fair, in that price range. But for something 2 seasons, maybe even 3 seasons, this unknown brand, Forsat, gets a massive double thumbs up for me. Now, my second tent. Now this is a 4-season tent, because after going through that night in the Peak District, I didn't want to have to go through a night like that again. I wanted a bit more confidence in the stronger weathers and harsher winds. And so the Vango Banshee 200 has been around quite a few years now, and that's one of the reasons that I was actually drawn to it, because it's been tried and tested. Many explorers and adventurers have used it. If you go on YouTube, you can see loads and loads of videos of people demoing it, giving reviews on it. So there was lots of information and data as well. £99 for a 4-season tent. Honestly, to start with, I was very sceptical that a 4-season tent, a decent 4-season tent, could be bought for £99. So I did a lot of research on it, and as I said, there's plenty out there. So in the end, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to give it a go. We'll give it a try. There are many reasons why this Banshee 200 lives up to the hype, in my opinion. So for £99, you get a 4-season tent. It comes with alloy poles, which was a big thing for me because I wanted to make sure I had alloy this time to go up against the strong winds. It's obviously got guidelines and guide ropes all around and fasting points all around the ground. What I was impressed by was not only how many fixing points there were to the ground to really make it rigid. You've got adjustable fastening straps on it as well to each point, so that you can really tighten it and buckle it down. And you've got guidelines coming from 2 points into one across all corners. Honestly, I put it together recently on just a quick 24-hour night out, and it just looked and felt so solid. I'm hoping that we'll get a bit of weather before this winter's finished, so I can actually go out and try it in some testing weather, because I believe it's going to do really well. It's, again, just as a £50 tent was. It's really quite spacious inside. It's got a couple of pockets in there for storage. It's got plenty of ventilation around it. It's got doors on both sides of the tent. I'll put up a picture again now so that you can see what it looks like erected. And yeah, there are doors on both sides, so you can get in and out either side of the tent, or you can have them both opened up just to air through on a nice day. And it also means that there's just plenty of airflow through the tent. So again, not had any issues with condensation so far. We will see how that goes through the year. That may make me decide on how far through the year, whether I take it through the warmer months as well, or whether I just want to get something a bit lighter. Because that comes to, I was going to say that comes to a bit of a negative. It's not that much of a negative really. It's 2.4 kilos the weight of this tent, which is a lot heavier than what I've been used to with that one. But again, it is a 4-season tent. It's got sturdier poles, even though they're actually very thin, these alloy poles as well. And talking of the poles, I really like the fact that the poles are color coded as well. So you've got one color for one pole, one color for the other, easy to match up. One's short, one's long. It's really simple and really easy to assemble. But I've got more of a review on the tent on a previous video, so I'll leave a link at the top of the screen now to that video if you want to see the review of the tent in a bit more detail. But yeah, so £99, £50 up to £99, and extremely happy with how both tents performed. And I really was not expecting it on that £50 tent. As you know, if you see my first video, you'll see I probably wasn't expecting a lot from it. But yeah, unknown brand and a Vango, which is a very well-known brand. £99 for me, that's budget camping. So yeah, very impressed. Double thumbs up for both of those. And I'm usually pretty strict. Right, so moving on from tents. So, sleeping mats, inflatable sleeping mats. This has been one of the biggest journeys for me because I started this 9 stone overweight when I started my channel. And being so overweight, there was more of me to weigh down on the ground, which meant it was very uncomfortable to lay on uneven or lumpy ground or rocky ground. Anything but a nice thick mattress, honestly, was uncomfortable now. Why I decided to start my exercise by camping, I don't know, because it was, well, I do know, it's because I love it. But yeah, it was very uncomfortable and I needed support underneath me. Now, again, I'll put up another picture. This was the first inflatable mat that I had. It was a £20 inflatable mat. I remember buying it at the time for £20 because I went through several items that were 20 quid because I was trying to do everything really cheap. I got to use it one time on my first video. I wasn't that impressed with it, to be fair. Again, I shouldn't have been really, being it was only £20. It was very thin, it was very noisy, it was very rustly when you laid on it and crinkly. And it just didn't support very well. And also I was on a little bit of the tent was on a little bit of a slant on a hill at the time. And because of the material of the mat and the material of the ground sheet, I was finding I was sliding off the mat, or myself and the mat were just sliding down the tent. My dog ended up laying on the mat more than me, which is why I only got to use it once. The material on it is very plasticky and very thin. And unfortunately, the first time my dog chose to stand up in the morning, well, her claw just went straight through. It went psst, big gust of wind, and that was the end of that tent. So yeah, it was just way too thin, way too noisy. It just didn't offer the support. So it was time to upgrade. So I went to the OEX Traverse 5.0. Again, it's been a mixed bag. And actually, I've tried looking for the Traverse 5.0 in other places and I can't seem to find it anymore, which is a shame because the Traverse 5.0 is R rating of 4.6, so it's 4 seasons. The only one I can find like this at the moment is 2.6, which is a rating of 2.6, so it's only 3 season mat. And they're selling that, I think, for £30 at the moment, Now, this is 4-season. I think this might have been £40 at the time when I got this. I'm pretty sure it was. I hope they're still doing it, because in terms of the thickness of the mat and in terms of the thickness of the mat and the quality of the material, it's really actually pretty good. The only issue I've had with this is the fact that it's called a self-inflating mat. You open up the valve and it will suck air in and it'll start to well, it does start to self-inflate. This one does. My original one didn't at all. But unfortunately, the other issue I found was, so this cap here you unscrew and it was supposedly self-inflate, but you can manually put your mouth over it and blow into it and fill it up normally, which is fine. I have no issue doing that. Because I'm not in the big extreme cold temperatures where the water molecules from my breath inside would be damaging to it. You know, I'm not going to be those sort of temperatures. However, yes, on 2 trips ago, so I'd only been using this just under 3 months, and the valve basically went on it. After blowing it up, I tightened it up again to seal it, and it would just come rushing out, wiggle around a bit, and it would seem like it would seal, but 15 minutes later, yeah, you were sitting on the floor. But I didn't want to move on to something else. I wanted to give it another go and try another one. So I went back to Go Outdoors to get a replacement. I'm not going to talk to you about the customer service there. I love the member deal prices in that place. I think there's some really good value for money, but my personal experience is customer service is shocking. So, especially when it comes to returns, Joe. That's my view anyway. Right, so yeah, so the Traverse 5.0, I wanted to try it again just because, as I said, I was 9 stone overweight when I started this. Now I'm only 4 stone overweight now. Thankfully, in 3 months, I've reduced 5 stone. So this makes this even comfier. But it was the only one, and I did try a few out in store and stuff. Even on flat surfaces, I struggled to feel comfy even for a short space of time on them. But this one is just that much thicker in terms of how deep, so you can press down it further before you actually come in contact with the ground. You can get more expensive ones out there, 100, 200, even more, and some can be really thick, like an actual mattress. But they're just heavy and not something that you can hike around with. So yeah, in terms of comfort and durability, the material itself, the valve we will see, because this is round 2. But yeah, I was impressed with it enough to give it another go. The only thing I don't actually like about it at all is it comes with a really nice bag of its own to carry it in. And this is a said bag. So you can see that actually when you roll it up, it's quite stumpy, but very wide. Because you actually have to fold it in half along its length and then roll it up and deflate it, so that it fits in its own storage bag. The trouble with that is, even in my largest backpack, the 65 litre one, if I put this in the bottom or near the bottom, because you're going to want to pack your backpack in terms of order that you're going to need stuff out, and on a hike, that's one of the last things I'm going to need. That comes after the tent and everything. So this should be somewhere near the bottom. Because of the size and shape of this bag, there's not much I can put in the bottom of the bag next to it, apart from some smaller items. But those smaller items generally tend to be a bit more fragile, and you don't want them in the bottom of your bag for when you're taking it off and dropping it on the floor and stuff. So I actually started just not folding it over, rolling it up in its full width, so that it's narrower and can go much better in the bag next to other items, like my tent. But overall, 1 thumb up. It's good, but we're still on the fence at the moment. Right, so the third essential item of going out and camping, a sleeping bag. Now, again, I started with a £20 sleeping bag, which could have been absolutely fine had I started in the start of summer, end of spring, start of summer. Because obviously a £20 sleeping bag is at best rated for 2 seasons. Now, I was that naive when I started this that I didn't even contemplate or even know about ratings between sleeping bags. I don't even not know what I was thinking. I just thought sleeping bag was a sleeping bag. Until my first night out. And this was right at the end of October last year. Fortunately for me, the weather was pretty good, but the skies were clear, which meant the temperature dropped on the night time. I think the first night out got down to about 4 degrees, so nothing crazy. And in hindsight, it's probably a little bit warmer in the tent than the 4 degrees anyway, because obviously you get some protection from the tent and your own body heat inside it. And I had my dog with me, Lola, as well. So yeah, but even so, it was a chilly night. I woke up a few times cold in the night and had to keep my layers on. But honestly, if you're just doing something in the summer or late spring or something when the weather is quite mild, £20 sleeping bag would have been absolutely fine. This was the sleeping bag that actually I got first time for 20 quid. I still have it now. I'll be using it, or Rose will be using it at some point in the milder weather. But it didn't do very well in the cold. And the next time I went out, I actually slept in a hammock. And that's also meant that I had air underneath me as well as above me and around me. I was sort of surrounded by it on all 4 sides. And because I also didn't know about foil mats at the time, that was a very chilly night. I did not get a lot of sleep at all, which was a shame because the hammock actually was a really nice experience. We'll come to that later. So I needed to upgrade my sleeping bag. Now, fortunately for me, I was actually gifted this, and this sleeping bag is the Deuter Exosphere, rated to -6 degrees. Now, I know some people will say, rightly so, with the ratings when they're rated to minus this and minus that, just be careful and be cautious. Take that maybe with a pinch of salt. For me, from personal experience though, I would be more than happy in using this in temperatures up to -6 degrees. I was out in it recently a couple of times. In fact, the first time I assembled the Banshee tent and spent a night in it, it was like -8 outside. It was a bit milder in the tent because the tent did really well. But this though was absolutely day and night. And I was very fortunate at the time to be able to get it. I believe it was less than £90. It was on offer at the time in Go Outdoors. So I believe it was more than this at the time. But I certainly would say that if you want to look at 4-season camping and being out in the colder weathers and the harsher elements, with a 4-season sleeping bag, I think you'd be lucky to get anything below 100 quid that's any good for 4 seasons. So I was very lucky to get this for the price I did. Again, if you're going to be out in 4 seasons, you need to spend the extra money, I personally believe. There are various brands out there. I'm not going to name them all because I haven't experienced and tried them all, but you'll be able to see the reviews yourself. But again, one thing not to scrimp on if you're going out 4 seasons in the colder months, then spend the extra money, get a decent sleeping bag. It's not a nice experience if you haven't got one that's up to the temperatures that you're in at the time. Some other good points about this. I love how compact it comes down to. I love the lid that you lift over the top after you put it in. I love that I've recently found out the technique of just easily stuffing it in. You can literally stuff it inside this bag in seconds and pull it over tight. And I still found that it took quite a long time, and I had nothing but issues trying to get it in. But actually, just stuffing it in, it was really good. And it also has the hood part as well that you can fully pull over, and it is the mummy shape, so it narrows down to the feet. Now that did take a bit of getting used to me personally, especially while I was larger and I was struggling to get in and out of this thing. Now I've lost quite a bit of weight, and I am finding it quite comfortable, quite easy to get in and out of, and it's so warm. Honestly, I can't tell you. One of my favourite bits of kit. So the final item I'm going to come to regards interior of the tent is, for me, what I found personally one of the most crucial pieces of equipment. pillow, of course. I didn't think how important this would be. The first few nights I would use my clothes, or I would use my backpack, anything I could do just to roll up and put under my neck, but they'd always end up just slipping away or just weren't high enough, and I'd just wake up every morning with a crick neck. When my mat was doing so well to protect the rest of my body, I was still waking up with aches and pains, and it was just because I needed a pillow. And I was like, do I really want to spend money on a tiny inflatable bag just to put my head on at night time? The answer to that question was yes, I do really want to, because I really need to, because I haven't slept soundly without one. This is just a Trekology pillow. I believe it was 10 quid. I remember at the time thinking 10 quid on that little inflatable bag. But yeah, it blows up really quickly and easily. It's only as small as you'd expect. It's got a nice surface for resting your head on. It's nicely shaped. It has a strap on the back that can actually go over your mat, so it keeps it fixed on the mat in place-ish. It does slide off and come off if you move around a lot like I do. I move around quite a lot, but that's because of the pain in my knees, and I find every hour or two I have to rotate and move my body. So yeah, I do find it slips off, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's 10 quid. It gives me enough support for my head so I don't get a sore neck. It's comfortable to lay on. Bargain. Goes in the budget camping bin as far as I'm concerned. Absolute bargain. So next. Now, I sleep in tents, I sleep in hammocks, I sometimes just sleep in bivvy bags, which means I could be out in any elements. So keeping your sleeping bag absolutely nice and dry, so that it keeps you nice and warm and dry, is absolutely vital. And so for me, a bivvy bag was absolutely vital. And being able to get outdoors, lightweight, and just, not even worry about the hammock or worrying about having a tent, take that extra weight off of you and just be able to get out and about, more versatile, not worry about too much about where you're going to lay your head for the night. Bivvy bag is fantastic. This, I'll put the original up again. I think it was £20, but I'll put it in the picture I put up. Yeah, this was great. It has protected my sleeping bag on many occasions from the damp outside, from drizzle and rain. I've not slept outdoors with it and been in an actual proper, rainstorm or shower, heavy downpour or anything with it. It does have the hood to go over, but yeah, I'm not sure how well it would fare in those occasions. Personally, I'm thinking probably well, because it also brings me to the downside of it. So it was protecting me from the wet outside. But what I noticed just lately as well is that if it's my sleeping bag, as I said, is really nice, keeps me really warm, but you get a build-up of condensation on the inside of this bag, sort of from midway to lower down. And the trouble is that condensation has got nowhere to go except onto your sleeping bag. So I was actually getting some quite serious damp patches on the sleeping bag as a result of condensation inside the bivvy bag. So I don't know, maybe there's some more experienced people out there that can tell me a bit more about how to deal with that with this bivvy bag, or maybe it's the bivvy bag itself and I need to look at a better one. But I really like it. And like I say, if you want to get outdoors and you know the weather's going to be nice, or you're not too worried about having canvas over your head, just chuck your sleeping bag in a bivvy bag, go off hiking, lightweight, fantastic. I love them. Definitely worth the investment. And cheap as chips. Yeah, I'd forgotten about this actually. If you are going to sleep outdoors, especially if you are in a tent and it's maybe you don't seal it up and like it open a bit, or if you are sleeping outdoors in a bivvy bag, etc., there are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of creepy crawlies out there that would just like to climb all over you. I'm not a huge fan of spiders. There's not really many in this country that I'm too bothered about. But this isn't the only place I'll be out. I'm going to be, hiking and camping. So, this, for me, is an absolute must. Now, you're not going to win any fashion awards looking like this, I must admit. And this is really supposed to be a bug net to keep the mozzies and stuff off of you. And I will say, if you're going to wear one of these for that reason, get a peak cap, which I don't know where mine is right now, but get a peak cap and put it over that, because the peak cap obviously is another layer of something between your skin and the mosquitoes or whatever that are trying to attack you. And the peak itself obviously will keep it away from your face, rather than being pressed against mine like it is, where the mozzies or whatever can still get in and nip you and bite you and sting you. So yeah, peak cap. And I do that as well if I'm sleeping with one on. Now, guarantee the cap probably won't stay on all night, but it will do enough to keep it away from your face. So yeah, if you're going to sleep outdoors, and you are not a fan of having slugs climbing over your head, or ladies maybe getting in your hair, then yeah, a microwave head net. This is an OEX one, and I'm pretty sure it was 10 quid or less than 10 quid. So something pretty cheap again. Not an absolute if you're just starting out and it's really tight on the budget. But when you've got 10 quid to spend, if you are planning on spending a lot of time with your kit outdoors and you really want to experience the outdoors under the stars, get yourself one of these. So next, backpacks. Right then, backpacks. Pretty key to getting outdoors and outdoor exploring. I started with this. This is my Eurohike Nepla 65 litre. And I have to say, still my favourite as well. Now it is quite a big bag, being 65 litres, but still lightweight. It has really nice padded shoulder straps and padded waist belt. It has a aluminium backpacks. It has an aluminium bag support, 2 bars in the back there for supporting you. Makes a massive difference when you've got quite a bit of weight on there, I will say. It's got side pockets galore and straps galore to go over every pocket that you've got. It's got in the hood. It's got pockets inside and pockets outside. It's got storage all over it, padding all over it. Yeah, it's actually padded on the back as well before you get to the aluminium rods. So yeah, it's really, really comfortable. I've done some fairly reasonable distances in this with plus 18 kilos in the bag. And yeah, absolutely, the issues have not, the only issues I've had have not been related to this bag anyway. The first couple of times I used it, my shoulders are quite sore, but that's just because I hadn't been carrying weight like that on my shoulders for a long time. And if I know I'm going to be carrying a reasonable weight, I always go with this one. This currently for members in Go Outdoors is 20 quid. I think it's a lot more expensive in there. Maybe it might even be 60 quid for non-members, but you can also go on Amazon and find the same bag for 20 quid, 25 pounds right now. So if you're a member at Go Outdoors, 20 quid. If not, Amazon for 25 quid. Great bag, 65 litres, so you've got plenty of storage. However, this is the bag that I was saying, it's a 65 litre bag. It's quite a size, and yet when you've got this rolled up in the way it's designed to do in its own storage bag, it literally fills like nearly a third of the bag up. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I'll be thinking of something different to do with that going forward. But yeah, a £25 rucksack. Now I know there are much better ones. Well, I say much better. There are much more expensive ones out there. But a lot of the features are the same, with the side pockets and stuff. These aren't the biggest of side pockets. You would struggle to get the zip done up with a decent side water bottle in it or something, but there is plenty of room to get stuff in. but you've got adjusting straps for the shoulders, you've got adjusting straps for the waist as well. So, you know, it's pretty good for setting up to your size and shape. And, you know, as I keep saying, I was 9 stone heavier when I started this journey. So there was a lot of shape to adjust around. And as I've lost weight, and literally every time I've gone out, I've had to adjust it. And it's just been as comfortable every time, no matter what size and how much thinner and thinner I get as I go along. It's just been, it's like my 50 pound tent. It's a good old faithful, this one. Just feels like it would just go on and on. It's not waterproof. You're not going to get a waterproof backpack for that price. But then saying that, a waterproof cover to go over a backpack, you know, 10, 15 quid, and you can have a reasonable cover to go over your backpack. So not too worried about that. Really good bag. For the money, I actually say that's a double thumbs up. It's a big bag, so you can, you know, get some longer adventures out of it. Plenty of storage, easy adjustable, just comfortable. You know, I really thought I was going to struggle for a while on the longer hikes with it because I wasn't expecting it to stay as comfortable as it did. Good bag. Second bag I got is another Eurohike bag, but I decided that I wanted something a bit smaller and a bit lighter. So whereas that's the Nepal, that's the 65 litre, this is the Tibet, the 35 litre. I was pretty much expecting, you know, the same for same, just a smaller size. And, you know, it is a nice bag. It is pretty comfortable. Obviously, it's a smaller bag. You don't have the back supports because you shouldn't be putting as much weight in it. It's got padded shoulder straps. There is some padding on the back as well, so extra support against your back. Again, with the lid over the top, you've got pockets in the lid. You've got side pockets again, which are really good. Now, the only issue, the only negative for me, now I don't know whether this was me doing something wrong, but when I found that I got this bag to its sort of maximum in capacity, that the fasteners at the top here that would come across your chest, I find it would, the pack would catch under my neck and it would be quite uncomfortable. Now I adjusted the straps as much as I can to be able to go on my shape, and yeah, I still found that when it was quite a lot of weight, it was just pulling it down, and it was just, yeah, catching up under my throat. So I would only use it when it's a really light hike day, and I've maybe just got some water and some rations and maybe some emergency equipment with me or whatever. But yeah, still a great bag. But definitely only a day bag, which is what I got it for. But yeah, it works really well, just as comfortable, except yeah, I just didn't find it very comfy when it was fully laden. Now my third and final and surprise review is this bag. Now you may have actually seen it if you've seen my my video on the Lake District. I actually tried this out for the first time. Now this bag first caught my attention because it was going to cost me just over £11, and I actually bought it in conjunction with a jacket that I also wear. I'll show you in a minute. But I got those two items, and this cost me £11, and it was about £20 or something like that for the jacket. And not only was I getting those two at very good prices, but I was also awarded 5 gifts alongside that for free. And I could select one each day over 5 days, and it would be sent out to me. And they did do as promised and sent all 5 items out. In fact, they got here way before the bag, because these were coming from, I believe, China. And all the other items came by air, and I actually had them all within a week. I think up to 2 weeks was the longest. This one actually took a couple of months because it came by land. And it's a long way to come by land. So yeah, that was the issue, was actually delivery time. But I wasn't in any rush for it. I'd got backpacks. I was just curious to see what an £11 backpack, and it was actually off the website Temu, which again I was a little cautious of because I know there's been some reports and concerns of people saying that, you know, their account numbers have been used, or there was issues with fraud of payment. Yeah, whether they're verified or not, I can't say. But it made me obviously a bit cautious. I've not had any issues. I've bought a few items from from there now, and I've not had any issues. So maybe I've just been lucky where I've shopped. But anyway, so this £11 backpack. Firstly, it does come with an extra lining inside all the way through. Now, like the other bags, it's not waterproof. I wouldn't expect it to be for 11 quid, but it does have this really good lining inside as well, which goes all the way through. And I was very thankful of, because when I was in the Lake District, a bag of bread dough exploded inside my bag and went all over the inside of my bag. It not only came off very easy, but because it's a lining I can pull out like this, it meant it was actually easy to get off and clean most of it down some. So yeah, and it really, really is a massive opening to this bag. I absolutely love the entrance to it. It's so big. It's far bigger and easier accessible than my other backpacks. It comes with absolutely tons of pockets and attachments for it. So you've got the side pockets, just like my Eurohike bags, but these are far bigger and far deeper. These are comparable to some very expensive price backpacks. So yeah, I was really quite surprised at the size and the quality and feel and thickness of this bag. It's quite lightweight, but it really is thick, rugged, and it feels rugged. The catches on this, the one negative actually to the two Eurohike bags I have, is that the clips on them are very cheap feeling and very yeah. I think they'll probably be the first things to go when the bag does start getting damaged. I bet the clips are one of the first things. These are actually thicker and stronger feeling and better quality than what those are. So I'll be interested to see how these last. But I mean, they're still plastic at the end of the day. But yeah, they just feel a bit more, a bit firmer and a bit more rugged. So yeah, so you've got these massive side pockets. You've got a pocket on the front and straps on the front as well for, I generally put my life straw in that in here and a water bottle in here. You've got another big pouch on the front then. You've got a bottom pouch as well. Now on my Eurohikes, that actually opens into the backpack itself, whereas this is just an additional pocket on the front. So yeah, loads and loads of storage. It's actually, to be fair, it actually probably takes a larger volume than what it can comfortably do. And the reason I say that is I knew from the get-go that there was going to be some comfort issues with this on how I use it. The reason being, now again, shoulder straps, really nice padded shoulder straps as well. Had no issues with shoulder complaints or pains on them. Padded waist straps as well. Not as big or as thick as the Eurohike ones, but yeah, still do the job well. Again, nice big thick solid clips on them as well. But there is no fastening or strap for the top here, which you would usually have across your chest, which helps pull it in. It stops the straps then sliding down onto your shoulders and being in uncomfortable positions on your shoulders, or stops the bag from shifting on your shoulders. So that is an issue. I think going forward what I might do is just use these two hoops here. And I'll probably get like some sort of fabric or guideline or something with some adjustable clips on. And I'll just fashion one myself. Because that was an issue, and I knew it would be, but when I tried in the Lake District, yeah, the bag was shifting on my position and it was becoming unbalanced, which was making it awkward. And that was just because it hadn't got this here to pull the shoulder straps in. And as well, because of the size of the bag, I would expect some additional support, like the Eurohike, the 65 Nepal there, that has the two aluminium bars on the back, just to help support your back. I did find that there were items in my backpack that were digging into my back. I could probably get around that by just being a bit thoughtful on how I pack the bag and what goes this side against my back. But it is a shame, you know, because it is such a sizable bag, and I feel like the straps and the bag itself could take the weight. But yeah, it's just not going to be a comfortable bag if it's heavily laden. But having said that, this was £11, or it was less than £11.50, something like £11.26 or something random. So yeah, it's a nice big solid bag. It's lightweight. It's got, you know, it's got sturdy material. I just need to tweak it a little bit to make it comfortable for long hikes. But yeah, I'm certainly going to be using it again. Absolutely unexpected. And I'll just go briefly with you the 5 gifts that I got free with my purchase of this bag and my jacket. So the 5 free items. First one, just a scarf, nothing special. I just like the look. And it gives you a bit of warmth around the neck. Not exactly winter, but yeah, just a simple scarf. But you know, it's free, an absolute freebie. Sticking with the warmth of the neck, my snood, which I use this a lot. This is actually really nice. And make sure I don't cover the mic. Keeps your neck very warm, but it also has these, if I've got it on right, which I haven't. It has these air holes, breather holes, which is really quite nice because you want to be able to breathe through, but not feel too restricted from the fabric. And actually, when it's really cold in minus temperatures, the air just doesn't feel as bitey on your throat when you get in the really cold temperatures. So yes, that's a freebie that I use all the time. Really nice. So this all comes into the cost of that 30 quid. Next item, I haven't used yet because I've not been in a location yet where I can have actually campfires while I'm out wild camping. I'm hoping to get some use when I'm up in Scotland. So this, of course, is a strike stick for lighting campfires and fires outdoors. So yeah, I mean, they're only a few quid to buy, but that's still a few quid I haven't got to spend now. Next was this waist bag, which actually is, this is the first thing I chose as a free gift because I had straight away an idea of what I wanted to use it for, which was for camera equipment and batteries and stuff, etc. So when I'm out hiking, especially if I've got a day bag on, but I don't want to fill it with my recording equipment, is just to have this waistband on. And yeah, I've got easy access to the camera, to a small handle, a holder for it. The drone also goes in here if I'm taking the drone out. A charging equipment, my SLR camera. Yeah, all of it goes in this. It's a great little bag. Actually, same fabric and material looking as the backpack that I got from here as well. So they actually kind of match anyway, if you're interested in things matching. And the final gift is my gloves, which I use a lot. I first used these properly when I did the Peak District video, and I was really, really glad that I had them in the end, because some of it was quite rocky and you had to climb over. Well, you've got knuckle protectors on the hands, you've got grips on the fingertips. You can use your smartphone or your GoPro or whatever with them because it's got that thing so you can touch the screens. It works the same as your fingers, so you don't have to take them off in cold weather or really wet weather, which is fantastic when your fingers are numb. They are pretty warm. They're not exactly designed for really cold temperatures. I've been out in them in minus degrees, but I wouldn't go too far. But they're a really nice fit. It has an adjustable strap, which fixes really well to attach the glove. I can, again though, this is the issue with Velcro, is I can feel the effectiveness start to weaken a bit. So eventually that will give up and that won't work, which is a shame because it's really nice getting a tight seal around your wrist. And with the green jacket, when they were both doing up tight, it was nice to have that feeling of tightness around there, so you weren't going to get any rain in, underneath or anything. But yeah, really nice gloves. Comes in all various colours, and yeah, so everything on this table here came as a freebie from buying those 2 items, and all of which, apart from the light striker, get lots of use so far. So 30 quid. If that's not budget camping, I don't know what is. So the list is endless of items of clothing and equipment and stuff that you could get for backpacking and hiking and wild camping and whatever it is you like to do. But I'm just basically wanted to go through today just the basic essentials of what I think you need or will need if you want to do this across most of the times of the year. And if you just want to get out and enjoy nature in the outdoors and be pretty self-reliant. So the first of the last of the essential items that I want to go through today is my PureWell Live Straw. It is of course a water filter. Now there are a couple of ways that you can use this. You can get any sort of Coke bottle or whatever, a large bottle, 2 litre bottle, where the cap would screw on. This will screw onto the top of it, fit, and you can turn it upside down and water will filter through, filtered, obviously of course. There is a straw that you can put onto the bottom end of that instead, and use the straw and drink it directly from the water source. Or again, you can just put a large bag on and use it as like a gravity filter and just let it run out of the straw. I believe these are currently between 16, 18 pounds, depending on where you look. For me, I personally am just a lot happier having one of these with me, because it just means I can get access to clean, drinkable water wherever there's water available to me. I've already been in a couple of situations where I've run out of water when I've been out. Once was in the Peak District, and because I was basically pinned down to my tent for a period of time in the storm, I went through my water supply. Now there is an area though where there was waterfalls and streams readily available around, so it wasn't too far to be able to get to a water source. However, I wouldn't want to do it without a filter. So yeah, just having this on board for the sake of maximum 18 quid, I just think it is an essential part of the kit. I take it with me everywhere, every time I go out, even if it's just on a day hike where I'm going for a few hours. I'm getting into the habit of always taking it with me, so I've always got a way I can put clean, drinkable water inside my body if I really need to. Now, some of you that have watched the channel might know that I like a brew every now and again, especially in a good storm. And I realised that not only the benefit of having a brew, but also having hot food inside you instead of cold makes a massive difference for morale and for your core temperature, when you're out and about. And yet, it can be any time of the year. It can be quite cold on an evening, even on a summer's evening, especially in the UK. So yeah, having access to warm food and drink is really, I think, quite essential as well. And for me, I find anyway, and probably for many people, it's a morale booster as well. You've had a long hike, a long trek, maybe it's been a rough night, or you've been through a storm and it's been a bit of an ordeal. When you finally get to sit down, enjoy the moment as you eat some hot food or sit over a hot drink, it makes a massive difference to the whole vibe of the adventure. My wife purchased this for me very early on, after my first video actually, when I said about not having any way of having a hot brew. I particularly like this whole setup as well. So the kit comes in this very handy carry bag. Now you get one larger pot with pull-out handles, and obviously a smaller half-size cup as well with the same handles and fittings on it. Now these obviously, these were bought separately to the burner itself, but they make a great combination. I don't know if designed this way, but it just happens as well that you can actually get your gas bottle inside the larger cup. You can get the burner inside that same cup as well. So then you can put the smaller cup over the top, and it's all contained within the one bag, and it just saves a bit more space in your backpack. For any of you that might do a lot of regular backpacking or use a backpack a lot, you'll know how quickly you can fill up that bag without realising it. So yeah, burner on top. That's better. and then pull tight, and then it's all held tight together then. So yeah, that's my whole cooking, camping experience in one little bag. I actually have two of these burners now. One has my original one has a single larger burner in it. My other one has three smaller burners in it that it just seems to burn that bit hotter. But yeah, I've got two just because I really like them so much. The burners themselves, I believe, they're less than £18 at the moment. So really good. And the cup set, I believe, is less than £12. So yeah, so 30 quid. And that is my my drinking requirements met, obviously, apart from just needing a fork or a knife. But yeah, again, really cheap. Love the fact that it all goes together and you keep it compact in your bag. The only issue I found with the gas and also with the liquid fuel that you can burn, I can't think what you call them now, but the little burners that you can get with an actual flame. Both of those are susceptible to the cold. I found that when it was, sort of below -5 anyway, that the gas wasn't flowing so well, and it was harder to get a good flame on it to keep things cooking and boiling for a while. It's not often in this country anyway that are going to get much below -5, -10. So I'm not too worried. Adventuring somewhere a bit further, then maybe petroleum might be the answer. And the last bit of vital kit, in my opinion, is a head torch. Now, there are many sort of torches and things you can use out there for having in your tent or when out and about. Get as many or as little lights as you want or feel you need. But for me, a head torch is absolutely vital, because I always have it with me, and 9 times out of 10 it's on my head. So I always know where it is. It's always easy at hand. Now, this particular one is actually Rose's, because I lost mine sadly after I packed up. One time, I don't know whether I lost it on the walk back. I know it wasn't in the area because I always check the area is clear and clean and tidy and leave no trace, right, before I leave. So, but somehow on the hike back, yeah, I lost it. But I like it so much that I got one for Rose. Sadly, when I wanted to get my replacement, these were out of stock everywhere, so I couldn't get the same one. But I do have a lovely OEX one as well, which there's only one difference to this. Well, two differences really. This one, you have the white light, but you also have the red light. And the red light is it's really good. It shines enough to be able to see close around you and what you need to do, but without dazzling or being too bright. So if you're like myself and you might need to be stealthy camping sometimes because of where you are, it's a lot easier to not be seen when you're using the red light. Or maybe you're just sharing a tent with somebody and they're sleeping or whatever, and you don't want to dazzle them and wake them up with your blinding white light, because that really is quite blinding. Yeah, the red one is a good option. There's the only thing that my OEX one hasn't got, which is a real shame. But what the OEX does have is it has the same central bright light, but my side lights are white. But whereas that's a direct light pointing at somewhere, these are non-direct light, so it illuminates the area, but without directing any distance to it. So again, it's a little less intrusive than what a direct beam light is. But yeah, for me, it's absolutely vital to have a head torch. And you can get a decent brightness torch for £10. Just make sure that you remember where you put them, otherwise you'll be gutted when you lose it. So there's one other item which I nearly forgot actually, purely because it's not here right now, and it's currently lining Rose's car or camper car at the moment to keep her warm. And that is having a spongy foil insulation mat. Again, you can get them for about 10 quid now. And for me, it's an absolute must. You get a little bit of extra support as well from the ground if you get a nice spongy foil mat. But just that insulation between you and the cold when you're on the floor and stopping you getting the chills from underneath. Best 10 quid I've spent. So yeah, so add a foil mat into this. And yeah, this is my budget 4-season hiking and backpacking kit. Now this setup here can basically £300 and a little change. But yeah, 300 quid. And I would happily go out in this 4-season camping and backpacking. If you swap this bag out for the Eurohike bag, the 60-litre one, again, which we can fit all of this in quite comfortably and get you outdoors. If you swap that for this one, it's still only adding just over 10 quid more, so just over £310. And that's to get me out all seasons. Now, of course, that is having a 4-season tent. I could swap that out for my £50 tent and go the rest of the year. And, you know, my budget is 250 quid. Now, for me, in this day and age with the cost of things, I think that is not bad going. And again, it might involve some shopping around. Some of these things that are, you know, I got as freebie gifts, I consider as absolutely vital. Having a decent pair of gloves, having a snood to help keep a bit of extra warmth on your neck. And for me, having that extra bit of baggage for camera equipment and stuff, you don't have to be doing you know, YouTube channel. You can just want to take a lot of memories of your journeys and your adventures. So yeah, I like it as well because it's not in the backpack that's being bounced around with everything else. It's a bit more fragile. I like it to be easy to hand, and I like to know it's getting a bit more attention and it's not getting bounced around so much. So yeah, full kit, 300 quid. I think that comes under budget. If anybody's got any comments on any of the items, or if you actually have some better ideas for me, I'm all ears. I'm still new to this. I'm learning. I just want to be able to pass some of this information on as I learn myself. So I hope some of this is useful to you. I'll leave a full kit listing in the description of this video, just for you guys to see if you're interested in looking up some of the items yourself. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give us a big thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks very much, everybody. Much love. And as always, have a beautiful day.